For the last month, parts of Chicago's Loop have been closed to motorists and pedestrians for the filming of Transformers 3, the third live-action film based on the popular 1980s toys.
It's 106 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
That's Dan Aykroyd as Elwood and the late John Belushi, a Chicago native, as Joliet Jake Blues in the 1980 film The Blues Brothers. According to Aykroyd, who also co-wrote the film, Chicago is one of the stars of the movie. The Blues Brothers helped spark a renaissance in movie production in Chicago. But why was a renaissance necessary? A little history.
Hello again, Peabody. And this, of course, is my boy, Sherman.
Hi!
In the early years of filmmaking, Chicago was a hub of movie production. According to Arnie Bernstein's 1998 book, Hollywood on Lake Michigan, 100 Years of Chicago in the Movies, at one time, Chicago was the production site for 1/5 of American movies. One of the leading studios during the time before Technicolor and talkies was S&A Studios, founded in 1907 and named after founders George Sporer and Gilbert Anderson, S&A. By 1908, the company had moved to the 1300 block of West Argyle Street in Uptown into a building that still stands today. The studio's most famous star was Charlie Chaplin. Recruited to join S&A for 1 year by Anderson, Chaplin came to Chicago just before Christmas in 1914. Chaplin made only one film for S&A in Chicago before returning to California. Upon his return, the Los Angeles Times of January 20th, 1915, reported that Chaplin found Chicago, quote, too damn cold, unquote. When Chaplin's contract expired at the end of 1915, Anderson reported Chaplin's salary demand to Sporer, $10,000 a week. In today's dollars, that would be roughly $200,000 a week. Sporer declined to renew the contract, and Chaplin left S&A. Sporer and Anderson had a falling out over this decision, and in a few years the studio was but a memory. It was Southern California's climate, which made year-round production possible, that took Chicago off the movie-making map.
I wasn't expecting another deposit until the end of the month.
Actually, I'm making a withdrawal. I want dirty money only. Everything you're holding for Capone, that's off the books. Open the safe.
You're insane. You know they'll find out who you are.
The name's Sullivan. You want me to spell it?
That's Tom Hanks as the gangster Michael Sullivan in 2002's Road to Perdition, much of which was set in and filmed in Chicago. The rumor that Mayor Richard J. Daley banned movie production in Chicago during his 2 decades as mayor is not accurate. Still, the mayor didn't want the city portrayed badly and did little to support film production. Arnie Bernstein quoted a police officer who had to deal with film crews during that time as saying, "If it's not Mary Poppins, the mayor doesn't want it." The Blues Brothers was no Mary Poppins. Full of curse words and car crashes, it received an R rating. But then Mayor Jane Byrne gave her blessing to the production, and the rest was history. From 1977 to the present day, more than 1,200 movies have been produced in Chicago. 2000's High Fidelity, the story of a record store owner with commitment issues, based on the novel by British author Nick Hornby, substitutes Chicago for London and stars Evanston native John Cusack. 2005's Batman Begins and its 2008 sequel, The Dark Knight, used shots of Chicago streets and buildings to represent parts of Gotham City. Director Christopher Nolan grew up in both Chicago and London. As a native Philadelphian, I can say, with the perspective of someone who was born and raised elsewhere but has lived here for several years, this is a city that could be home to anyone. And filming stories about real people or comic book superheroes in Chicago seems fitting. A non-native Chicagoan who set and or shot many of the films he wrote and or directed in this city or its suburbs was the late great John Hughes, who passed away much too soon just last year. Born in Detroit, Hughes moved to Chicago at age 12, and his movies, particularly 1986's Ferris Bueller's Day Off, are, in addition to being a delight to watch, great advertisements for the city of Chicago. From 1983's National Lampoon's Vacation to 1985's The Breakfast Club to 1990's Home Alone, Hughes made movies with universal themes: the pleasures and pains of family life, the joys and challenges of youth, and the importance of growing up without growing old. As Ferris Bueller said,
"Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it."
Movies at their best help us take another look at our world, and movies set in Chicago help remind us that there's an incredible world just a few miles or blocks away.